In 2025, talking about the Rolex Submariner feels almost redundant. This is a watch that has been dissected, debated, and celebrated more than any other. Every lug, every dial variation, every bracelet update already catalogued. So, what's left to say? Well, today I don't want to just review the Submariner as a watch. I want to look at it as an icon in 2025, how it has held up an era when smartwatches dominate wrists, independence pushed the limits of design, and hype culture reshaped the watch market. The question is, what does the Submariner mean now? What I won't do now is give you a lengthy recap of the sub's history, because been there, done that, and I'm sure so you. So if you're still interested in a more detailed discussion of that, go check out my video on the Submariner I did before, which I will link for you in the description box down below. The only few things that are of importance to us now are the following. Firstly, being released in 1953. For the first time, the Submariner is 72 years old. Let that sink in. That means this watch has been around longer than the internet, longer than most of the world's airlines, even longer than James Bond himself, of course, on the big screen. It's a design that has outlasted entire eras of technology and culture, yet is still on the wrist in 2025, virtually unchanged in its essence. Secondly, it has always been about merging functionality with luxurious design. The Submariner never pretended to be fully a tool watch. No matter what anybody would like to say, luxury was always a crucial part of it. Luxury was always part of its DNA. I mean, just think about it. Even in the 1950s, it was priced above other divers and wore just as well under a tuxedo as it did over a wetsuit. And that duality, you know, rugged utility combined with refined elegance, is why Sean Connery's Bond wore it with a dinner jacket. FYI, it was never just about surviving a dive. It was always about making the dive look good. And thirdly, its history has always been its strength and its biggest burden too. So with all that in mind, in 2025, is a watch like the Rolex Submariner still pushing forward, or is it just the safest choice? Right, as we have already established, the current Rolex Submariner hasn't really changed much, or let's say it changed as much as any aging thing would do. I mean, look at the big crystal that was launched in 1950, and that one remained virtually unchanged, you know, that ballpoint pen. And it is still being produced today. It's one of the best-selling pens in history. Or you've got the Russell Hobbs, the electric kettle, the K1 kettle. That features the first automatic shut-off, great thing, launched in 1955. Some have lasted decades, and while the design has evolved, the brand's production lineage is still continuing. So being born in the 90s, I'm a 1991 kind of girl, I grew up with the saying, never change a running system. It's been said to me countless times. I still say that to this day. In computing, you know, a running system refers to a setup, so hardware, software, or network that is functioning correctly without crashes or errors. And so the advice is to not make any unnecessary changes to something that works. Simple as that, because you risk introducing new bugs or incompatibilities or failures. It reflects the pragmatic caution of IT professionals who have learned that updates, tweaks, or optimizations often bring unforeseen consequences, a valuable lesson to learn. And though it makes total sense in an IT context, I always thought that it is the most boring approach to life, because, you know, never changing anything means that, you know, nothing is ever changing. So how come that this approach is seemingly working for something so complex and emotional as a luxury product? So we might be able to figure things out if we look at the 2025 Submariner a bit more closely. So the latest generation of the Submariner, with the reference 124-060, has an updated 41mm diameter case, departing from the 40mm we had up until 2020. So we've had a long time with the same case diameter, and now we've changed it up. So it now sports the thinnest lug so far too, with an increased lug width of 21mm to better accommodate the oyster bracelet. There are 6 lines of text in total on the dial, so a lot of things to read, all in white with different fonts if you look closely. The hour markers are all still a mix of squares and rectangles, with the classic triangle at 12, and they're all filled with chromalite now to improve low light visibility. The bezel has been made from ceramic for quite some time, and and the 904L steel case and bracelet close on an oyster lock clasp with an integrated glide lock system for easy adjustment with no need for additional tools, something I like very much. So you can technically easily adjust that watch to fit over the sleeve of your diving suit, but nobody will ever need that because nobody takes that watch diving like that, come on. But it's a nice thing to have, especially during the summertime when your wrist swells up, and then you can just adjust it if you're a person like that, which is myself, for example. Of course, the movement has been updated as well. Currently, we have the in-house 3230 beating inside with a super chronometer certification. Oh no, I think it's a superlative chronometer certification with a power reserve of about 70 hours with an accuracy of about plus minus 2 seconds per day after casing the movement. So while technologically we are definitely where a lot of people would say that it's cutting edge, but looks-wise, it's more about timeless engineering rather than radical development, even though I would argue that in 2025, restraint and longevity, that feels much more radical in its own way, but that's something we'll be talking about in a minute. So Rolex manufactures around 100,000 to 150,000 Submariner per year, and the numbers are constantly rising. And so putting those numbers into context of the watch being basically unchanged since its release 70 plus years ago, how can something be, arguably so unexciting, still be defending its position so fiercely? So duality is a broad concept that shows up in many fields of thought, philosophy, mathematics, physics, and even in daily life. At its core, duality means that one thing can be understood in two different, but, equally valid ways. These perspectives often seem opposite or contradictory at first, yet they are deeply connected and reveal different sides of the same reality. So what's the sub's duality? Let's look at the one side of the coin first, so to speak. Over time, the Submariner, slowly but surely, became cultural shorthand for a couple of things: success, reliability, aspiration. It is recognizable beyond watch circles and has pretty much achieved mainstream appeal, especially in the past couple of years, so like 5 to 6 years. The luxury watch boom has made sure of that. Naturally, the sub standing inside the watch circles has changed too, but maybe not in the way you might think. The sub has successfully separated the community into, I'd say, like different factions, a duality within the duality, so to speak. So you got the ones who criticize the watch for being too ubiquitous, too much of the obvious choice and therefore too cliche, oftentimes dismissed because, it is too simple, just too basic. We all know that snobbery runs deep in the hobby, and I'm no stranger to that either. I don't think so, have said that in a video yet. But I definitely have said that in person. I find the sub to be one of the most boring watches ever, which is a big reason as why I wanted to do this video in the first place. I wanted to explore that feeling as to why I am so towards an icon such as the Submariner, because I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. Anyways, on the other hand, there's people, many of whom are, just getting started, who are extremely enthusiastic about the sub. So it's a long-standing history and almost entirely unchanged looks is what draws them to this watch. The robustness, the ruggedness, and the very clear message it sends. Basically, like, I'm here to last and I'm a status symbol. The secondary market hype supports that. Even after 70 years, the Submariner is hard to get at retail, though, supply has improved over time, especially after those peak years. There's no denying that the sub is still incredibly high in demand. In a stabilizing secondary market, the sub still commands respect. So we can conclude that, yes, the sub is equally as cliche as it is original. It's the most basic entry-level Rolex sports watch and the ultimate icon. A watch that doesn't chase trends but remains relevant because of that. You can genuinely put it on and wear it for life. In a time when people chase the notorious one watch collection, the Submariner is right there. It carries a mythology that no smartwatch or trendy new indie brand can replicate. It's not really about owning a watch at this point. It's more like joining a lineage. So, to come back to the very initial question, what does the Submariner mean now? I think we got a pretty good picture of it now. The Submariner has survived waves, no pun intended, of change by simply being the constant. Say what you want, but you cannot deny that it's still the benchmark dive watch. But more importantly, it's more than just its specs. It's about cultural and emotional permanence in a time where I would say the yearning for constancy is at an all-time high. No wonder the Submariner is now more than ever kind of like a pillar of strength due to its reliability, not only in terms of accuracy, but also because it has remained mostly unchanged for decades. I think we can pretty much wrap this up in one sentence, that in 2025, the Submariner isn't just iconic because of its past. It's iconic because it still makes sense today. And that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that little deep dive into the Rolex Submariner and why it is what it is today. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch more videos like this one, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And again, thank you so much for watching. And then I hopefully see you in my next one. Bye!